This week on Beyond the Screen, we're diving into the dark, the eerie, and the downright spine-chilling world of Filipino movies. I'm Rames.
And I'm Josh. And if you're a fan of Filipino horror movies that make you keep the lights on at night, well, this episode is very much for you.
So grab a rosary, maybe a candle, and definitely don't look into any mirrors after midnight, because this episode is about to get spooky and real. Here's the thing about horror movies. According to film scholar Robin Wood, trends in horror cinema depict the return of whatever fear or trauma any particular society has repeatedly repressed. So, for example, American horror movies are more about ultra-violence because of the senseless violence of the Vietnam War.
Oh, I guess that's why Japanese horror movies always have this theme of technology, because of their history with the Hiroshima bombing.
Exactly. Like Shaw says, the relationship between history and horror is tied into the relationship between fear and culture. But what makes Filipino movies scarier than most?
Well, makeup, practical effects, Chris Aquino as a screen queen.
It's because while Western cinema is configured around invented figures like Frankenstein or Leatherface, the elements of Pinoy horror movies scare us because on some level, we think they're real.
It's like when your lola warns you not to point at an open window at night, or you'll summon something bad. You laugh, no? But until you're alone in the dark and suddenly like, wait, what if she was right?
Right? So the fear factor in horror movies becomes twofold. One, their horror figures already exist in our collective consciousness as a superstitious society. And two, they also symbolize our repressed realities.
The second one's gotta be a religious trauma. The fact that most of our horror movies take place in a church, or have at least some involvement of a priest or a spiritual healer, really helps you take the cake.
Ding ding ding! And with that, let's get to the film. The first being Seclusion by Eric Maty.
It's like The Exorcist, if it was in a remote convent in the Philippines with the priests who have serious issues. These deacons aren't just fighting demons, they're fighting their own guilt. And it's like, yeah, maybe there's a spirit or two, but the real horror is dealing with your past mistakes and the suffocating weight of religion.
This 2016 film literally screams Catholic guilt. I mean, imagine being a priest in training, locked in isolation, and constantly haunted by your darkest fears, all because you're trying to prove your faith.
Yeah.
Talk about spiritual baggage.
Yeah, and it's not just about a scare fest. Seclusion is a critique of the way Catholicism demands silence and suffering. Seclusion is full of some serious unease. The film literally traps these guys in the claustrophobic environment. Like, they can't even escape their own guilt. Not even the priesthood can save them. I mean, if I were one of them, I'd be like, well, time to buy a one-way ticket out of here.
Exactly. The film uses the setting beautifully. The convent is surrounded by dark, dense woods. It's like the physical manifestation of how trapped these characters feel. The whole film is about trying to escape their own demons, but spoiler alert, they can't. And the ghosts? They're not just boo moments. They're the characters' own unresolved guilt coming to life. It's pretty deep, not gonna lie. Now, let's talk about 2016's Suko, because it takes Filipino superstitions to a whole new level. If you marry within a year of a loved one's death, you're cursed. Cursed. That's like your lola saying, don't eat that at 7 p.m. or else the aswang will get you, but with a much higher stake.
Damn, cursed. The superstition in the film mirrors how our culture treats death and marriage like life or death decisions. The ghost in Sukob is this haunting reminder that breaking traditions has consequences. The mise-en-scène, the way they use shadows, the cold, the empty spaces, it really brings out this sense of being watched.
And then there's the 2013 Pagpag, which literally takes don't go to a wake without Pagpag to the extreme.
Yeah.
If you don't perform the ritual, you're gonna bring the spirits. It's like being told, hey, you're not allowed to leave the party without finishing your food. But in this case, it's life and death. So yeah, talk about pressure.
Those slow zoom-ins on empty hallways and random reflections in windows really messes with you. It's like you're just waiting for something bad to happen. And it does every single time.
As great as Pinoy horror movie is, interestingly, the genre doesn't really make it into the canonical books on Philippine cinema. Regardless, the form and content of horror movies hit home every time. The commercial success of anthologies like Shake, Rattle, and Roll just proves that there will always be an audience for it.
Well, because these films aren't just trying to scare us, they're reflecting on our society. These films ask hard questions about guilt, sin, tradition, and the legacy of colonialism.
And that's why horror sticks around. It's not just about thrills, it's about the past haunting the present. both literally and figuratively. That's what lies beyond the screen.